Welcome to the Cinderella training video. Come get ready with us.
I do my eyeshadow first. I put on a primer before I start it just to make sure the pigment really sticks on there and you get that nice longevity with it. So tap it all around. I'll do a nice light neutral tone on the brow bone, just covering all the way like from the upper lid all the way up to the brow bone, making sure that it goes in that inner side as well, kind of anywhere the foundation's not gonna hit. We just want it to be a really neutral tone in that area. And then after that, I'll go with a tiny little brush and get my bright blue, it's the Ben Nye Cinderella blue. I'll put that all the way over on the lid. And with this one, you can really layer it if you're using the Ben Nye color. So I'll add one layer and then I'll just keep packing it on to get more and more pigment on that eyelid area. You just really want that really bright blue, and you can always soften it out later if you'd like. Some people will do a little bit of a lighter ombre into the corner with the nude, but I like to do the full blue just to give it that really big pop. Then I'll take a medium-sized brush, go with a deeper gray tone. There is the blue gray that comes in Ben Nye that's usually used for her. I do like a slightly darker gray, so I'll choose something just with a little bit more of a deeper tone to it and a little bit less blue toned to put into that crease. So I like to tap it all in first into the area that I want it in. And then once I have as much pigment as I want in there, I'll start to blend it out a little bit. So blending it onto the eyelid a little bit into the blue so it's not too harsh of a line, and just carrying that gray into exactly where I'd like it to be. Then once I have the pigment where I want it, I'll grab a fluffy brush. There's a couple different options, and I'm just really blending. So the more you can work these colors into each other, get that nice softness around each color transition, it's gonna be a little bit better. I'll occasionally go back to my little brush as well to add a little bit more pigment if I start picking it up and getting too little, but that's what I do for those. So for some special events or for big photo shoots, I do sometimes like to add a little bit of a glitter topper to her. It's not something I do for every single party or event, but for something like a stage show or where you want a little bit more of a wow factor, it can help a little bit to make it just pop a little more. Some of these are a little bit chunkier glitters than I would normally use, but there's a couple really nice brands of them that make these really beautiful shimmer toppers. You just tap it right on top, kind of blend it out with your finger a little bit, making sure you're not picking up your blue pigment, and it can add that little bit of extra pop. For Cindy, I like to do a black liquid liner on the top lashes. She's got only a teeny tiny wing if you're doing one at all. I do like the ones with that really fine tip and that kind of pen shape to them, 'cause it's a little bit easier to control and get that really nice clean line with it. I'll wing it out just a little bit and just kind of build it back and forth, making sure everything's really nice and smooth. Both eyes are pretty even. Next, I like to go through and do my face. So I'll add my primer on. I like to tap it on so I'm not pulling on my skin too much, and to get that really nice even coverage, really pressing it into the skin all around. Then I will pull out my foundation, I tap it all around, and then I'll use a beauty blender just slightly wetted just to really tap it in. Biggest thing is making sure that you're getting really full coverage in your foundation. I like that my primer has a little bit of the redness reducer as well, because for me that helps quite a bit. I'll also go into those little tiny spots and use my finger to tap it in. Then I'll add concealer wherever I need it. If I have like a breakout or dark circles or something like that, I'll add just a little bit here and there, and I use my finger to tap it through. So for lashes for Cinderella, I really love the Demi Wispies from Ardell, or something that's kind of this nice light but glammed out lash. So I don't want anything too intense, but I do want to have that dramatic look a little bit just because she is so glamorous in her ball gown. And with that blue eyeshadow, you do really need a nice bold lash to go along with it. So this is my favorite one. It works well for my eye shape. If your eyes are a little bit smaller, you may need to cut parts of it off. And if I do cut it off, I'll cut it from the longer side just to make sure that it fits your eye shape really well. And then I do really like using black lash glue. I just feel like it helps give a really nice line and kind of that extra boldness, especially for me since I do have blonde lashes. It'll help kind of cover up that base of the lash where it's going to be a little bit blonde. Let them rest for a little bit before you put them on. Make sure that glue gets nice and tacky. Kind of blow on it or wave on it, or sometimes I'll clean up my other makeup a little bit while I'm waiting. But just putting it on each eye, making sure it's really nice and secure on there. So as far as powders go, I always like to use a setting powder. These are two of my favorites. They're just a drugstore one. There are some really nice ones you can get as well that I like better, but I do get really nice coverage and a really good finish with these ones. And they come in a shade that's light enough for my skin tone and really neutral toned. So I do really like these ones, but there's tons of different ones you can get. You just use a big fluffy brush, put it all over my face to help set that liquid foundation that we had in there to make everything just feel really locked in. Gives you a tiny bit more coverage and a little bit more pigment, but I think it just helps to give that nice finished polished look at the end of things. Then I'll go in and do my brows, so making sure I kind of brush through them first. If I had my tweezers with me, I'd probably clean out my brows a little bit first. but I'll go through and do kind of a delicate brow for her. We don't want anything too bold or too heavy. I do like to do a slightly more ashy blonde. We don't want anything too warm, even though her wig does have more of a warmer blonde, but typically blondes have a slightly ashier brow than they do their actual hair color. So just kind of putting it in there. I'll sometimes use a setting gel as well on my brows just to make sure that they feel really nice and clean. Cinderella gets the pink blush from Ben Nye. It's this nice bright pink color. It's really nice and pigmented as well. I'm gonna apply it up to my cheekbone, bringing it a little bit onto the apples of my cheeks, but not too far down. I like to use a smaller brush and get that really strong pigment on there, and then I'll go with a fluffy brush and blend it out so that it stays a little bit smoother, doesn't feel so harsh. Then I'll go in, I like to tight line my eyelashes a little bit, especially with, again, having blonde lashes. It just helps cover up that line a little bit. Also cleaning up anything with my eyeliner that my lash glue might have pulled out of place a little bit and just making sure it looks really finished. I add a layer of mascara after I do my eyelashes. I like to do them after they're really nice and dry just to give it that extra boldness, and then it also kind of glues my eyelashes, my real ones to the fake ones, to make it look really clean and cohesive on everything. Then I go in with a little bit of a highlighter. I like this Fairy Dust one. It's just got a little bit of a like nude tone to it, but it's just gonna brighten a little bit in those inner corners. Anywhere where I've got a little bit of darkness or shadow. Pop it under the eye a little bit or under the brow bone. Not a ton of highlighter. We don't want it to be that big flashback, but just a little bit of brightness. So lip liner is really important for Cinderella. It gives a nice coverage, and I'll outline my lips first, and then I do also fill in my lips all the way as well. It's gonna give a really nice like all day wear on the lipstick, make it look really even and not chance getting it too split as far as the colors go, where you've got like a really strong lip liner on the outside and the lipstick in the middle. So I fill in my whole lip with the liner first, add my Ben Nye Watermelon on top, just a nice little layer of it all over where that lip liner was. Gives it a really nice finish and it'll last really long. Then setting spray time, you can use whatever you'd like for it. Just make sure that you give it 1 to 2 coats and you are done. Yay, Cinderella, thanks.
On the first shelf, you'll see the Cinderella wig. Go ahead and pick her up and tip her upside down when you go to take the pins off. Put them in the face and not on the neck area. Then you can put your hand on her bun as you tip it upside down and take the foam head out. Make sure the straps on the inside are where you want them, and then go ahead and place her. I usually do the bangs forward on my forehead further, and then I go ahead and pull down back onto my nape of my neck area. Then you're gonna wanna go ahead and adjust the sides and make sure that your ear tabs are even on both sides. Next, we're gonna go over the pinning method. We're gonna talk about how we're gonna go backwards, then forward with this motion every time we pin in place. So we'll pick up our ear tab, and keeping that backward forward motion in mind, I'm finding a weft of the wig here, and I'm going into that hidden spot, and this is all about like feel. So see how I poked it forward and then I'm pushing it backwards? So flipping it backwards before I push it then into my wig cap, grabbing my wig prep as well. You can see the difference here with how this side isn't flush to my face with a pin, whereas the other side shows that it's nice and flat, and the other one shows the gaping. So we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing. We're gonna go ahead and find that spot where we're poking through the weft, push forward, and then we're gonna grab the skin slash wig area and push backwards. Now we're gonna do that same thing with the back. We're gonna go ahead and separate the hairs in the back while we push through the wig, grabbing the weft, and then poking into the wig cap and wig prep. And you wanna go ahead and separate the hairs so that you're getting it into that area, and that way you can push the hair back over and you won't see any of those pins anymore. Here we're gonna show you on the top of the head as well. So we're gonna go on the sides to help bring this wig forward. So I'm gonna hold on to the bang area while I push that pin backwards in that spot, but I went ahead and separated. See how I'm separating the hair while I do that? Pulling the wig forward at the bang, pushing the pin forward, and then flipping it backwards after I grab that wig cap and prep. And then since I separated the hair, it is disguised underneath. Do not do the front area, always the sides. I'm also gonna go ahead and use a bobby pin to do this little trick right here. I only do this on some wigs, but when I have bangs, I can go ahead and take a bobby pin underneath where the bangs are and kind of bobby pin the wig to my wig cap. Doing it on both sides, you can kind of see how I'm grabbing the front of the wig with that bobby pin and is securing it to my wig cap, and it's disguised by the bangs. I really want to emphasize here that none of the bobby pins or U-pins should ever be seen, and they should always be disguised by the bangs or separating the hair, no matter what. Next, we're going to go over movement and poses for Cindy. So Cindy's very classic, very smooth and delicate, very ballet-like. So hand at the heart is going to be good, both hands at the heart. You can also clasp in the front, very soft, very graceful. When you do the hands up by the ears, it's very much a like, oh, checking that my earrings are on, very cute. Now we're going to go over in detail here about the wrists and hands. We want to put down our middle finger and using our thumb. This is going to be a very delicate way to pose with your hands. You don't want your wrist drooping like this, and you also don't want it to be super flexed like this either. So really, and as well as the fingers, we don't want them to be like flat in this way or flat up in this way. We want to make sure we have a nice combination of a bent wrist with the delicate fingers just like this. That's going to be for a lot of the classic princesses like Cinderella, Belle, any classic princess pose. So another classic pose is where you show your shoes. Be sure to grab your skirt with hoop and everything before you show your shoes. You can have one hand behind you. You can have both hands holding the skirt, one up at the heart. Either way, this is also a cute pose to do with kids, showing both of your shoes. When she stands, she does stand with her weight on one side shifted and then the other foot pointed out either side. You can also grab the hand of the kid or come down to the ground if they're really small. Scoot your dress in and get the kid closer to you. You can also offer to hold their hand. Also very cute poses for them. So once again, just keep it graceful and it'll be very Cinderella.